Hello and welcome to another episode of The Word for Kids. I'm Jamie and I'm guiding you through the books of 1st and 2nd Samuel in a series of 20 episodes. Last time we learned about Samuel's time as leader of Israel. He told the people to commit themselves to the Lord and give up their foreign gods, and they did so. When the Philistines came to attack them, Samuel offered a lamb as a sacrifice and cried out to God. And God answered by bringing a great thunder that caused the Philistines to panic, which meant the Israelites were able to defeat the Philistines. The Lord was with Samuel as he led the Israelites throughout his lifetime, but Samuel's sons were not cut out to be leaders because they were dishonest and took bribes. So when Samuel grew old, the elders asked him to give them a king. Samuel was upset by this, so he prayed to the Lord, who told him to listen to the people, but first to warn them about all the bad things the king would do to them. Even after warning them about what would happen, the people still demanded a king. So Samuel went to the Lord, and again the Lord told him to give them a king. And that's where we left off last time. Are you ready for today's adventure? Let's go! So as you might recall, the people insisted that Samuel give them a king. Now, there was a man named Kish who was a Benjamite, which just means he was from the tribe of Benjamin. Kish had a son named Saul. The Bible says Saul was as handsome a young man as could be found anywhere in Israel. Not only was Saul handsome, but he also stood a head taller than anyone else. The donkeys that belonged to Kish were lost, so he asked his son Saul to take a servant with him to help him find the lost donkeys. Saul and the servant searched one area after another through the hill country and in different districts and territories, but they could not find the lost donkeys. They arrived in the district of Zuph, and by this time they had been searching for so long, Saul said to the servant, "Let's go back, or my father will stop thinking about the donkeys and start worrying about us." But the servant replied, "Look, in this town there's a man of God who is highly respected. Everything he says comes true. Perhaps he will tell us which way to take." Saul and the servant went back and forth for a while about what to give to the man of God if they went to him. The servant had some silver to give him, so the two of them decided to go to the man of God, so he could tell them what way to go. Along the way, they came to some women and asked them if the seer was in town. At that time, prophets were called seers, so when they asked this, they were looking for the man of God, also known as a prophet. The women explained where they would find him, so Saul and the servant followed their instructions. As they were entering the town, Samuel was coming toward them. Now, the day before, the Lord had revealed this to Samuel. "About this time tomorrow, I will send you a man from the land of Benjamin. Anoint him ruler over my people Israel. He will deliver them from the hand of the Philistines." Let's stop right there for today's Word of the Day.
Hey kids, Eugene the Turtle here with another Word of the Day. Today's word is anoint. Anoint means to rub oil on someone's head. This is done to show that God has chosen someone special to do something very important. Anoint.
When Samuel saw Saul, the Lord said to him, "This is the man I spoke to you about. He will govern my people." So when Saul came to Samuel and asked, "Would you please tell me where the seer's house is?" Samuel answered him, "I am the seer. Go up ahead of me to the high place, for today you are to eat with me, and in the morning I will send you on your way and tell you all that is in your heart. As for the donkeys you lost 3 days ago, don't worry about them. They've been found. And to whom is all the desire of Israel turn, if not to you and your whole family line?" But Saul said, "I am a Benjamite from the smallest tribe of Israel, and my clan is the least of all the clans of the tribe of Benjamin. Why do you say such a thing to me?" Then Samuel brought Saul and his servant into the hall and seated them at the head of those who were invited, which was about 30 people. Samuel told the cook to bring the piece of meat he had told him ahead of time to lay aside. The cook brought the special meat that had been kept for Saul and set it in front of him. Samuel told him to eat, because it had been set aside for him for just this occasion. After they ate, they came down into the town, and Samuel talked with Saul on the roof of his house. The next morning, Samuel was walking with Saul to the edge of town and told him to have his servant go ahead of them so he could give him a message from God. Samuel took a flask of olive oil and poured it on Saul's head. He kissed him, saying, "Has not the Lord anointed you ruler over his inheritance?" After Saul had returned home, Samuel summoned the people of Israel to the Lord at Mizpah and said to them, "This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. I brought Israel out of Egypt, but you have now rejected your God, who saves you out of all your disasters and calamities. You have said, 'Appoint a king over us.' So now present yourselves before the Lord by your tribes and clans." Samuel had Israel come forward by tribes, and the tribe of Benjamin was chosen. Then he called them by clans, and Saul's clan was chosen. Finally, Saul was chosen, but when they looked for him, he was not to be found. The Lord said, "He has hidden himself among the supplies." They ran and brought him out, and as he stood among the people, they saw that he was a head taller. Samuel said to them, "Do you see the man the Lord has chosen? There is no one like him among all the people." Then the people shouted, "Long live the king!" And that's where our story ends for today. It's time for the verse to remember. Today's verse is Psalm 47:7. For God is the King of all the earth. Sing to him a psalm of praise. One more time. For God is the King of all the earth. Sing to him a psalm of praise. Wow, today's story had a lot of information packed in there. How amazing was it that God told Samuel about Saul before he ever even met him? Maybe the wandering donkeys were God's way of bringing Saul to Samuel in the first place. Even though the people were demanding a king instead of keeping God as their king, he still answered their request for a king and even led the right man for the job, Saul, right to Samuel. It was clear that the Lord brought them together, and the Lord still brings people together today. My pastor likes to call these meetings divine appointments. I love that. What he means by this is that sometimes God brings people together so that something big can happen. Maybe in the lives of those two people, maybe in their church, maybe in their community, or maybe, like in the case of Samuel and Saul, that meeting can bring about big changes for an entire nation. Think about someone God has put in your life. Maybe it's a family member or friend, a neighbor, a teacher, or a pastor. Whoever that person is, as you think about the ways they've made an impact on your life, thank God for bringing you together. That's all the time we have for this episode. I can't wait to see you again soon for another episode of The Word for Kids.